Welcome to the Stafford Excellence EdTalks, where we celebrate the brilliance and excellence of our Stafford County Public School educators. And friends, today you are in for a treat because we have the one, the only Joan DeCambre from Winding Creek Elementary School. She is a fifth grade teacher at Winding Creek and an amazing teacher here in Stafford County Public Schools. Joan, I have been so excited for this podcast for so long. Welcome to the Stafford Excellence Ed Talks.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You are an amazing hype man.
Oh no, this is all genuine. I'm so pumped, okay? Okay, so Joan, before we get started, I just want to explain to our audience kind of the rundown of the podcast. Our podcast is divided into three sections. First, we're going to give you the opportunity to share your story. Then we're going to talk about your Stafford County excellence. And finally, we're going to wrap up with your thoughts.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay, so Joan, are you ready for your Stafford Excellence Ed Talk?
Yes, I'm as ready as I could ever be.
Let's go. Okay. So if you wanted to start off, Joan, just kind of tell us your story. How did you get into education? How did you end up here in Stafford County Public Schools?
Well, I'm originally from Jamaica. I was a teacher there. And I got the opportunity to come to the United States to teach. And I took it because I saw it as an opportunity to hone my craft. I've only taught in Jamaica, and I just wanted the experience of teaching in another country, in another school system, and the U.S. was it. I came here in 2008. I hope I'm saying this right. And I was employed at Richmond Public Schools. I taught first grade. Never again. I love them. They're adorable, but they're a little bit scary. I I taught in Richmond Public Schools for 2 years, and then I moved to North Carolina, where I taught fourth grade for 3 years in Cumberland County. And then I left Cumberland County and I went to Harnett County, which is just the neighboring county. And I taught fifth grade there. And that's where I basically fell in love. I thought, I could never, ever go back to teaching any other grade level. I taught in Harnett County just for a short spell. And my husband and I decided, because my husband lived in Virginia. And, he just moved to North Carolina to be with me. So we thought that we would move back here. And I got a job in Stafford County. And here I am going into my 7th year teaching fifth grade. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome. I am the same as you. When I started teaching fifth grade here in Stafford County, I was like, I don't want to teach any other grade.
Are
like,
they great? I love fifth grade. I love fifth grade.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And once you teach it, you're like, nope, I can't go back to those grade levels.
They're at the right age, just right there on the cusp of middle school. And, they're right there. That's a sweet spot right there.
Yes. So, Joan, did you have a teacher or a mentor or a family member, a community member who inspired you to become a teacher? Did you have anyone along the way, or did you just decide this is what I want to do?
I don't know where my love for teaching came from. My aunt was a musician, and she was also a music teacher at one of the secondary schools in Jamaica. I can't really say that's where my love or my passion came from. I would more say it came from a teacher, my experience with a teacher, an experience that I wouldn't want any other kid to have. And that made me just want to be a teacher as well, but be a better teacher. So my love for the profession came out of something negative, if
Absolutely.
that makes much sense.
Yes, it does.
So.
Yes, it does. As teachers, we have the incredible responsibility where we could impact a child positively or negatively. And sometimes that does create our story and our path into the profession.
Yep. That's what led me here.
Well, what an honor it is to hear that portion of your story, Joan. Thank you for sharing that with us.
It's kind
So
of
moving.
weird. It's kind of weird and different because it came from a negative place. I was a first grader with this teacher. She was horrible. It just plain horrible. I'm not going to go into all the details, but
Sure.
I just thought, you know what? I'm going to become a teacher, but I'm going to be a better teacher than her. So
Well, and I have to tell you, your fifth grade students, your rock stars, as I see there in the background.
yes, they
Oh
think I'm
yeah.
mean though. Like today, we were having a conversation. I gave them like the last 10 or so minutes of school to just talk because,
Mhm.
we have to allow them to talk. And
Absolutely.
um, two of them came up to me and said, when we just started, we everybody thought you were so mean. I'm like, what? They were like, yes, because you would speak to us so sternly, and you were just so, everything has to be in its place and all of that. And oh my gosh, we just couldn't stand you. But now we love
No. Well, I'll tell you, Joan, you're setting those expectations high for your
you.
students, and now it pays off.
They know I'm coming from a good place. They know I love them. I
Exactly.
have nothing against them personally. I want what's best for them. And if I
Hmm.
do scold them, it's not them as a person. It's that thing you did. So let's talk about it and see how you can make a better choice next time. So,
That's right on. That's right on. And every day is a new day.
every day. I love that. That's the same thing with me. I don't carry over grudges. Every day is a new day for you to start anew.
Yes, and that's huge. We need that as adults. Um,
That's what
so,
I do.
moving to the second portion of our podcast, it's time to talk about your excellence, Joan. It is clear, even from what you've just told us, that you are Stafford County Public School excellence. So, do you have an example of a strategy or a best practice, maybe something you created or something you learned along the way that you'd like to share with our Stafford County community?
Well, when I came to Winding Creek, I came like in November. So I came to a class, a culture that was a classroom culture that was already there. And I worked with it to the end of the year because I didn't want to come in and
Mm,
cause the students any more trauma from
sure.
not having their long-term sub leave them and then having to get
Mm,
accustomed to this new person with new
yeah.
expectations and rules and all of that. However, this when we started the because I came midway kind of. So
Okay.
when I got my new set of fifth grade students, I asked my principal if I could do something different. So rather than having desks, I asked for tables
Okay.
because I just wanted everything to be clean. I wanted my students to have more accountability from their stuff because you are a classroom teacher. You know that when they put
Sure.
stuff in their desk, it goes to Narnia. So
Oh, yeah.
so I wanted them to be organized. That was my main thing. That was my most important thing right there. For them to learn organizational skills because they are fifth graders into going on to sixth grade. Um, so my principal allowed me to have tables, and from there it grew to, all right, you know what, I'm going to make some adjustments. I brought in additional seatings, kind of like the Starbucks idea, where
Yeah.
I have a couch, I have bean bags, I have those chairs that you put on the ground where you could adjust how you sit, because I strongly feel like school nowadays is not like how I grew up, how my parents grew up. So therefore, it has to be different. It has to um, basically align with how students are and how we are teaching today. We want students to
Mhm.
collaborate, then we have to provide that kind of learning environment that would allow them the opportunity to collaborate. No, you do not have to sit in your seat all day. That's torture. I can
Yeah.
barely sit in faculty meeting for 30 minutes. Yet, you know, a lot
Sure.
of the times we expect kids to just sit, stay in their seats, and be quiet. I allow a lot of movement in my classroom. It's controlled movement though, because
Sure.
I'm a little bit OCD-ish. It's controlled movements. And I teach my expectations from the get-go so
Mm,
students know how to act, how to basically be um, how to use, that's the word I'm looking for, how to use those flexible seats. And they have to put them, they take them out, they put them back, they know when to use them. And it's just, then it's just so
yeah.
beautiful to see. You know, you have a little group over there. I even allow my kids to sit on the desk. They write on
Okay.
their desks. So
Nice.
it's it's that kind of thing that I did, and I'm very proud of it because it makes my students happy.
I love that. I love that you got to know those students and advocated for what you believe they needed. That's awesome.
I love when they're
That's
happy.
awesome. Yes. So if there's a teacher out there listening and they're really interested in flexible seating, what advice would you give them into how they could start? Like where did you how could they start making this happen for their classroom?
First of all, I would say yes, do it. Go ahead and do it. Um, it starts off with, if you do have the flexible seating, and they are, it can be anything. It can be, I have a purple couch in my classroom, and my kids absolutely love it. So it could be a couch. If you're allowed to bring it in, bring it in. Um, I also have bean bags.
Hmm.
Um, I have, I know I'm repeating myself. I
No,
have
no.
those chairs that have the back, and
Sure.
also if your administrator is on board with it. See, I
Mm,
have done this for so many years because my administrator was on board with it, and it's something that grew, that spread within the walls of Winding
sure.
Creek, because now, flexible seating, you can find it in every classroom. They are, just the other day with our boostathon money, that's what that money bought for the class. And
Oh, that's
everyone's
amazing.
excited to get this done. But I would say, yes, go ahead and do it. First, you kind of have to think about your classroom dynamics and think about how those flexible seatings would work. Because
Mm,
just because you have it doesn't mean that it would work with your group of kids.
sure.
Um, and then you have to you have to set rules. There has to be guidelines. Otherwise, things will end in chaos. You have to set guidelines, you have to set expectations, you have to teach those expectations, and to a large extent you have to model it, what to
Hmm.
do, what not to do. For my coach, I
Yeah.
had a coach rotation. I had a schedule that was posted. And I allowed my students to choose. When it was their time to sit on the couch, they chose who they wanted to sit with. So, I mean, there are so many ways that you can do flexible seating in the classroom. So many creative, fun ways. And it still won't be disruptive.
That's amazing. I want to be a student in your classroom, Joan.
What?
You're obviously an inspiration, and I love how you respond to your students' needs and you set those high expectations. You believe, like, yes, we're gonna have this flexible seating. I believe in your capacity to make this happen, and then you model those different things
Yeah,
to make it
I
happen. That's
also
huge.
had, so we also got some desks, because I have
Hmm.
tables and I now have desks. Um, and they, I kind of did made some adjustments with them where I made them taller.
Okay.
So that students, because you have some students who they get their steps in the classroom. They're always walking around. And
Sure.
it's difficult for them to sit, to stay in that spot. But what I
Hmm.
discovered is, okay, they will stand. They will stand all day. So I made my desks taller so that those
Okay.
students who want to stand, um, they can just go there and stand.
That would have
Work
been
like
me.
a dream.
That would have been me. I have a standing desk as well,
Oh,
so that's
I.
awesome. So wow, what an awesome strategy. I'm sure many folks will be reaching out now asking Joan how they can make this happen as well. So good stuff.
I'm here for them.
So moving to the final part of our podcast,
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts. So we know that the past 2 years have been so challenging for everyone in education.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to look a little bit ahead, acknowledging, of course, how hard it is right now, but also what are you most optimistic about? What are you most excited about in the year 2022?
I have to say, I'm excited to put into practice the stuff that we learned when we had to go virtual because that was like it was kind of like a renaissance period because
That's
we
true.
had to do things so differently. We had to get super duper creative so that we can still take care of our children. Transitioning back to in person, a lot of those strategies, a lot of those resources that we used when we were behind the camera, um,
Yes.
they are just so useful now. It wasn't just created for virtual. So yeah, I'm excited to put those all that learning,
Hmm.
all those practices, uh, basically apply them to the classroom, to students, and to their learning. That's what I'm most
That's awesome.
optimistic about.
That's awesome. And that gives me so much hope because I think sometimes we think that the last 2 years there was a lot of wasted time, but
Mm-mm.
in many ways, not so much. It gave us the opportunity to think twice about things and to question what we do, which I think
Yeah,
is healthy.
it just really made us think way outside the box. Because who would have
Yeah.
thought that we could have done this, and be successful
True.
at it? I think we were
True.
pretty good at
Yes.
taking care of our students, with
Hmm.
the distance between us. We were.
Exactly. And think about how much we've learned and how far we've come. It's
Yes,
amazing.
yes, and that learning is it's not for it's not for nothing. There is a
Exactly.
place for it. I believe that.
Yes. So, to close out our podcast, my favorite part, in addition to you sharing your story, of course, are the three statements. I'm going to start reading a sentence and I'd like you to complete it, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay. The first statement, Jones, is the thing I love the most about being a fifth grade teacher
My
is.
students. I
Yes.
love my students. I love them. I love them. I love them. I love spending time with them. I love teaching them, and I absolutely love that look of learning. When they've learned something, I live for that, Dan. I really do.
Yeah.
I love
Nothing
my
can replace.
students, and I love the people that I work with as well because here at Winding Creek, there are some awesome, awesome people here. So, yeah,
Awesome. They are rock stars.
they are.
Here's our next one. Dear first year teacher, me.
How do you answer that question? All right, you're forcing me to be retrospective. Okay.
Yes.
Dear first year teacher, me. I wish you would have listened more.
Interesting. Can you tell me more?
Um, well, as a new teacher, I have to say that I had a certain amount of arrogance about me.
Mm,
And because of that, I had to learn some very hard lessons. One of them was my interaction with my students, with parents, just with people on a whole,
mhm.
because there are times when I would come across very aggressive, like I'm angry. I'm not. It's just that was just like my personality. Um, but if I had listened more, I could have made the adjustments earlier
Wow.
rather
Okay.
than later. I think
That's
I'm a lot more mellow now, but yeah, I wish I would have listened because I've gotten some great advice over the years and that I completely ignored. That arrogance.
that's a great piece of advice for new teachers. And finally, Stafford County is the place to work because
Stafford County is the place to work because it just, to me, it just makes you a lot more smarter, because the learning that you get here, it just makes you a better educator.
Yes.
And that's that right there. There's a lot of learning that I have gotten over the years, and it's not just about the pedagogy, or it's not just about that. It's the interactions, it's the relationship, it's the community. You know, you learn how to build all of those, and that's awesome.
Yes.
It's family. That's what Stafford County Schools
I
is,
love that.
family.
Joan, thank you. It is so clear that you are Stafford County Excellence, and it has been an honor. I hope I'm speaking for every person watching this, to hear your story, and for you to share out the amazing things you're doing with those fifth graders at Winding Creek Elementary.
Well,
So
thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity to share. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Oh my gosh, I was so excited for this, and we made it happen. So
We made
I
it
am so pumped.
happen.
So for all of our listeners out there, as always, you can check out every episode of the Stafford Excellence EdTalks over on the Stafford County Public Schools YouTube page. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you later.
Bye.